Hello and welcome to the Earthbound Super Series Ancient Cave Tournament. This is the race against StupidSecksyFlanders and AndyPerfect. Looks like both racers are more or less ready to go, so we'll probably be starting here very shortly. Let's see a doggo. You never know. I don't know. I don't mind seeing them in my own seeds, but I kind of like the challenge as well. Alright, looks like both racers have readied up, so we'll be starting here in just a few seconds. The coolest thing is flattery will earn you all of the points, Andy. So see, starting off, both runners taking the exact same route, and since they did that, and they're... I guess RNG must have lined up between them. It looks like they've got the same encounter here. So everything is identical, including their strategy to fight this enemy. This is outstanding. I love this. No snake for Andy, though. Ooh, Flanders choosing to fight the snake. He got that weird snake, too, where sometimes enemies that are running from you will decide to turn around for one frame, and he found that one frame. It happens. Andy got a green swirl, though, and a couple levels out of it. Early on, it's not a bad idea to take one or two little fights like that. It does not take very much experience at all to level your first few levels in the Ancient Cave Randomizer. It's actually less experience than Vanilla Earthbound. So it's something to keep in mind. Andy has no interest in the pair of dirty socks. I'm sorry, it looks like he's a little quiet. Let me turn that up. Still looks quiet. There, that's more the level I'm used to. Alright, so Flanders is falling just a little bit behind Andy. He had to actually take one extra fight. That looks like all this difference is right now. Andy looks like he's going to take the Mr. Baseball cap and equip it. Not a terrible idea. You can always sell it later for $100. Doesn't hurt. Yeah, and if you didn't know, you can actually fit in between those trees in winters. You use it in the glitchless run, but if all you've ever done is Ancient Cave, that might be something you're not aware of. Yeah. So the hotels that you run into, they still cost the same amount of money that they would cost in Vanilla Earthbound. So if you show up in the Summers Hotel, it's $600 a night. Even though it's on floor 1, yeah, you're probably not staying. Oh, and Andy found the fresh egg monkey. Yeah, that's a pretty hard dead end there. However, that tree there is actually Brick Road, and if you talk to him, he'll give you the equivalent of resting at a hotel. So nobody's found anything to really break out ahead in the cave yet. Both runners are just exploring, trying to find their way through right now.
Hello?
Here we are. Sorry about that. Alright, so Flanders has found the first boss here, who's just a cultist, no big deal. Oh, I should update. Oh, I don't have any good way to update the floors. I didn't think about that. I can just do that. That'll work. And Andy found the cultists as well. Ooh, we got the call for help. That's not great. But it's not going to hurt him too bad. He even queues up an extra freeze. So Andy even planned for that. Look at that. And Flanders is actually in a little bit of trouble. These hieroglyphs are very tough early on. They can have a lot of hit points, but really the issue is that you don't necessarily have a good way to do a lot of damage to them. And if they use Thunder Alpha, which is definitely a possibility, one of your kids is likely dying. But it is good for a lot of experience. Andy managed to get through that without a kid dying. So that's a little bit advantageous. It's not going to hurt Flanders too badly, it's just a little bit of a time loss since he knows somewhere right where he can go back and resurrect Paula. Alright, and here's one of the strats that I definitely suggest if you ever give this a try yourself. You can see here Flanders is intentionally fighting the third strongest mole that he's found here on floor 2. You have a very, very good shot at defeating him if you still have your big bottle rocket. Even if you don't still have your big bottle rocket, 2 freeze betas is very likely to do the job. And if it doesn't, you can queue up a rocket as a safety. And they're worth quite a bit of experience, so they'll get you into the high teens to low 20s for levels very quickly. Definitely recommend it. And a fry pan for his troubles. Not so worth it. Andy choosing not to fight them all. Again, you start the game with one big bottle rocket on Jeff, just like in Vanilla Earthbound, and it's very discretionary where you get to use that. You can hold on to it for a long time until you're really in trouble and you need it to escape from whatever problem has presented itself, or you can use it to try to give yourself more experience and go faster. It's kind of your decision whether you want to play risky or whether you want to play it safe. So both runners still very close here. The difference here is Andy's now going to fight this hieroglyph that Flanders fought earlier that killed Paula. And hey, would you look at that? Oh, Andy's Paula survived with 1 hit point. Those were some good damage rolls on those freezes too. So, it all worked out. Andy in a bit of an unfortunate fight with these mushrooms. They can be nasty if they mushroomize you, but otherwise they're no big deal at all. Flanders is actually in a little bit of trouble there. He, I missed whether he tried to use Freeze Beta on that slimy little pile. Oh, it was... okay, that's why. It was the boss, Little Barf. That thing's actually really rough. You can use PSI Fire and Rockin' to do damage to it. If you still have your big bottle rocket, fire away. So that may actually work out for Andy in the long run. Unless he uses it here on that robot. Because if I was Andy, I definitely would. Flanders found the house in Onut. If he had a bajillion dollars to his name, he could use it as a skip. But the only ATM they found so far was on floor 1, so I don't think that's happening. Hey, and Andy's found the next Sanctuary boss again. He's just had some lucky pathing on floor 2. Nothing wrong with that. Floor 2 boss, Shattered Man. He could actually be a little bit scary, especially if you don't have the psychic points to freeze him, which Andy does not. So he'll fire the big bottle rocket and only does 100 damage. So that's going to put him in a bit of a bind. We'll see how he responds to this. I think Pooh should have enough psychic points to pull it out for him, but we'll see. Pooh still has a bottle of water, so he could get one more freeze beta out of Pooh if he wanted. Or you could use 2 alphas, that would work too. And he's close enough. Ooh, I missed what the drop was off the enemy, though. Flanders trying to go around the robot and catch the president in the back, but you gotta be very fast if you want to have that succeed. Was it actually mummy wrap? Is this even randomized? So that was a pop gun there. Andy deciding it's worth the time to go ahead and equip it. The one character that I would say it's usually worth actually equipping the weapon on right away is Jeff, because otherwise he has no other job. Anyone else, it's kind of discretionary. Jar of Fly Honey. You can use that as a skip if you happen to find Belch in his own base. It looks like Andy's going to elect to hold on to it. Just in case that's a thing he comes across. Flanders getting a little bit confused on which doors he's already been through. Like, still no major items really found by either runner yet. At this point on floor 2 and 3, the Franklin badge would be an option, as well as some, not necessarily like endgame weapons, but definitely stronger, useful weapons, but we haven't seen any of that so far, as well as very good defensive items. You're really looking for pendants for the endgame, you won't find those, but you will find armbands that raise your defense by a ton, and you'll start finding coins. The lowest tier of coins, but you'll still find coins. Flanders marking his spot in case I think if he gets lost or he's worried about this being a difficult walk up the southern part of Onut, can actually be a really nasty walk if you're unlucky. Ooh, and Andy walking into the correct side of the Forsyth Theater. If he comes back out that door, we'll get to watch the show. He didn't mark his progress with the exit mouse, so He'll be stuck watching it if this turns out to be a dead end. But this is the Foresight department store, and he's got a lot of options where he can go here. Flanders fighting yet another robot. Once you have a few levels, the robots aren't nearly as intimidating. They're not extremely vulnerable to freeze, but they are somewhat vulnerable, and that's really all you need. This, I think, is the right way. Yes, alright. So Flanders has finally found the third floor boss. Not really much fault of his own, he just kind of took the least optimal path to find there. So he marked his mouse to go there, and it looks like he's going to explore just a little bit more before making the attempt. I found a skip there. I think those are the two hamburger monkeys, but I don't think either runner has found hamburgers, so that's not going to help you too much. Flanders taking the teleport trio here. This is good for a couple presents, so we'll see if he finds anything good. Nothing at all. And a bottle of water. So nothing too valuable there, and Andy not really finding too much valuable either. Flanders confusing which NPC teleports you. It's very easy to do. Don't take that as a negative comment. I do it all the time too. When they're randomized, it's very hard to know who's supposed to be who. Flanders loading up on fresh eggs to heal his hit points. Yeah, that's fair. That's a little bit clever. This monkey will keep giving you fresh eggs. Scripted enemies will still appear in the ancient cave. So you walk into the arcade, you haven't beat Frank yet, this Pogo Punk is going to pick a fight with you, Andy doesn't stand a chance. Wow, Andy finding the third floor sanctuary. He's on a roll for taking the right path here. This is the department store spook. He is a little bit scary. Something that you may not expect, however, is that unlike every other mook in this game, this mook is actually very vulnerable to freeze. There's no reason for him to encounter somebody that can freeze, so they didn't bother setting his freeze resistance, is my theory. So definitely freeze him. Not posing much of a problem for Andy. Now it's getting pretty low on hit points, but he got there. Meanwhile, Flanders is having a little bit of trouble with the Shattered Man. He's out of psychic points, other than Pooh. This is kind of like the situation that Andy was in, except Andy was able to make a little more progress. This is where Andy used the big bottle rocket. And it looks like Flanders is resorting to praying. I don't know if he used the bottle of water on Pooh or not. Mirror is actually a good choice here. This is a mirrorable enemy, and he would bash for reasonable damage. Hey, the smash smashes 4 damage. That's always a good. Yeah, it's the one thing I wish I knew is if Pooh still had the bottle of water, because that would definitely get Flanders out of the situation, and I didn't see him use it. He got the rainbow light. That's not going to help him a whole lot here, but it'll help a little bit. He's going to go for the magnet. I don't think that works. It doesn't, but he did get the prayer that gives you psychic points, so that'll probably bail you out of this fight. And he's done. Alright, so the two runners are almost exactly one floor apart. Notably, however, you can skip around in the cave. We haven't seen that yet. We've seen some of the skips, but none of the runners have been able to take any of them. I just want to point that out, because this is definitely still either runner's game. Backstage pass, another item that you can use to skip. And these sanctuaries, I'll go ahead and point out, I know at least somebody in chat mentioned this is their first Ancient Cave run. So this is Pink Cloud. It gives you a full heal to revive any of your dead kids, restore your hit points and psychic points to full, get rid of any status effects. There is guaranteed on each floor to be at least one of these that will give you a full heal. So if you search hard enough, you will find somewhere where you can revive all of your kids. It is guaranteed. Andy decides he likes that hard hat. I'm not sure I would even bother with the time to equip it once you're on floor 4, but I also tend to play a little risky. You can visit sanctuaries multiple times, as many times as you need. Oh, and this is Mold Cave on Andy's end. This is a very large room, unless the southern end here of the Mold Cave rather happens to be the way out. We'll probably see Andy spending quite a bit of time in. But there's also a lot of presents, so it can definitely be worthwhile. For example, we just found a Ancient Cave specific item, the Auto Star Master. You find it in a present, you use it, and Pooh learns Starstorm Alpha. If you find a second one, then Pooh learns Starstorm Omega. It's the only way you learn Starstorm in this, unless you happen to fight is he Master Barf the second time? The second version of Master Belch. Then Pooh will swoop down as per the script, use Starstorm Alpha, and he'll actually know Starstorm Alpha. Yeah, it might be Master Puke, I can't remember. So now what you'll start to see on Annie's side, these enemies are usually not too tough, and Annie has enough offense to just bash them down. But the enemies, the random enemies, are going to start getting a lot tougher and a lot more dangerous. So you're less worried about running into random scripted enemies, and instead running into a fight that you can't hope to win because there's 6 awful things in your fight. That's a good point, too. With Flanders there, the fastest way to get rid of any items out of your inventory in Ancient Cave, especially with instant text speed, is to find either the Forside or Tucson department stores, go to the return desk, and just return all the stuff you don't want. Not only do you get paid for it, it's faster than going in your menu and trying to drop it. So if you run across that, and you are kind of like borderline about doing some inventory management, that is the time. So that's a very good play. And it looks like Flanders is going to search these shops, I think, before he searches the doors in the department store. And he's found some good stuff. He doesn't have a ton of money, but Horn of Life is a nice find. Bombs are actually not too bad a find. I don't know that I would completely stock up on, but they're not worthless. And big bottle rockets and super bombs upstairs. So that's a very big find for Flanders. Super bombs especially. Big bottle rockets are nice because they're cheap and let Jeff maybe do a ton of damage. He might also miss. It is Jeff. Super bombs, however, are guaranteed to do, I'll just very roughly, 200-ish to 400-ish damage. So it's more effective than most things you can do for an action, and it's very, very fast. Especially with instant text speed, it takes, I would say, maybe a third of a second to go through the entire turn. So, super bombs do a lot of damage and help you go very fast. If you have the money to buy super bombs, buy super bombs. This is earlier in the cave, and you can't afford to just fill up everybody on super bombs. For that reason, it's good to buy Jeff big bottle rockets. However, unless I have like a rabbit's foot on Jeff, if it was the end of the game and I was doing this, it would be super bombs on everybody. Yes, that's a good point as well. The bottle of deluxe water is a very good item for poo. It's a little bit underrated. Like, the only place you're ever going to find it in vanilla is the dude out in the desert trying to hawk water for $200. And you're like, why would I ever buy your bottled water for $200? Well, it gives poo back 40 psychic points. That is a lot. That is a ton of psychic points. It's absolutely worth doing. Especially if poo has good hit points, you can just have a poo with high hit points, and it doesn't matter what his psychic points are, you just fill them up with bottles of deluxe water, keep him hydrated, and you can just spam your psychic abilities with him all day. It is a very effective strategy in Ancient Cave. So Flanders went on a shopping trip here, which was good from the perspective of he found some very useful items, and this may come in handy later, depending on if Andy finds something that will make up the difference. It does, however, mean that Flanders also happened to search that room in the worst possible manner, so he's going to be behind. Andy is currently standing here. This is a skip, and it looks like he's actually going to take it. You can walk backwards out the theater, and now you're on a different floor. So you've skipped 2 floors in one direction or another, either forwards or backwards. You have to skip at least 2 floors, and you won't skip more than 5. So right now we have no idea where Andy is. Lucky Coin tells me that Andy is on floors 7, 8, or 9. So he's gone forward for sure. So this is worthwhile for Andy to pursue, as long as he's able to beat the enemies that he finds. So I'm going to put Andy down for... Eels, I think, would push that to 8. So I'm just going to say 8. Oh, Flanders found a random burger drop. If he finds the burger monkey, he could take that skip. But no, instead he's found the floor 4 boss. Sorry, or floor 3 boss, sorry. Choosing not to save is definitely a respectable decision, especially when you've skipped very far forward. Looks like Andy's come to the same decision as me, where this is either 8 or 9, I think probably. So we'll see how Flanders responds to the Mook here. Again, he is a little tough. He can actually... if you get really unlucky, it can be a nasty fight. But if he just opens with fire, it's an annoyance, but you should do enough damage to beat. There's Starman there as well. So he's either late on floor 8 or early on floor 9. And Andy, in a little bit of a scary fight, actually. If Fobbies are going to bash for a million damage. That's the nature of skipping way forward in floors. That's going to happen no matter what. This sphere can use fire and normally explodes when he dies. So you have to kill him last. You can kind of hang him up with or hypnosis like Andy's doing here, but as you'll see, these freezes will do no damage. So freeze is the solution in Earthbound 90% of the time. This is the 10%. Don't freeze these guys. It's a waste of time. And Andy trying to bash it out, his offense is not quite good enough, though. It's not going to finish this fight, yeah. Starstorm would definitely be the better option. But the Fire Beta got it done. So they don't have a ton of hit points. Andy's just kind of unprepared to fight. Getting the green swirl on these pink cloud enemies, not the conductive spirit, so we're fairly safe there. And a night pendant. That's a good find. The kid hit points are a little bit too low for me to say it's a critical find. If you had outstanding stats, you could show up to Gygus with just night pendants and hope that he doesn't spam freeze and make it through, and it would be a valid strategy. The C pendant, however, will resist fire, freeze, and flash, and that is a critical find. That's a huge find for Andy. So Andy is, I wouldn't quite say prepared for Gygus. He would have a tough time doing enough damage now, I think, as well as surviving. But that's a very critical find. I would say that puts him roughly halfway there to being prepared. Andy has a backstage pass, if you recall. He could take that skip right there. However, if he is on floor 8, like I'm guessing, it would most certainly go backwards. So Andy took a skip, so he is on he's on a different floor. Just based on my experience, it looks like it's probably flipped. That would be my guess. Andy did just save, so he can... Yeah. And that's exactly what I was thinking. So Andy just saved, so he talked to this boss, he came on the back of it, and it said it was the floor 7 Sanctuary boss, so he's most definitely on floor 8. So I'm gonna... And we'll get to see what the floor 8 boss is then. Because unless Andy skips backwards, there's no skip from 8 to 9, so he'll have to fight the floor 8 boss to get there. Looks like Flanders also took a skip, and I missed it. Sorry. I think Flanders is on... He thinks floor 6. Let's see if we can find something to identify it. Point of defense. He's definitely farther than 4. Although coin of defense isn't that great. But he was on floor 4, and he had to go at least 2 floors. So for now, I'll call it 6. I reserve the right to change it. Duh, 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 duh. So now you're going to see here kind of the issue with advancing way far forward on floors. If you're unprepared, which usually you're not as prepared as you should be, you can't afford to fight many enemies, and you'll spend a lot of time trying to despawn enemies. Despawn is kind of a term that we used in Glitchless to describe the process of trying to unload an enemy in one way or another, and then making the game re-roll to see if the enemy shows back up. So you can do that by entering and exiting doors, or moving far enough off screen that you've unloaded the enemy. Those are the 2 main ways to despawn enemies. If we see some of the more advanced techniques, I'll point them out. Andy trying to get in a fight here and chuckling on his stream as he realizes that, yeah, you're gonna get Magnet Hill here first. But, you know, you should still get the green on the Starmen. Starmen, for the record, are regular Starmen, or even Super Starmen, are probably the best enemies to try to get experience on. They're relatively easy to fight. They're not terribly lethal. They'll only kill 1 kid at a time at most. They have empty turns. And they give decent XP. Not outstanding, but okay. So if you show up on that floor way underprepared... Thank you. If you show up way underprepared, try to find Starman. Also, the fact that you're very likely to get a green swirl. I've been focusing too much on Andy, and I'm still trying to figure out where Flanders must be. I haven't seen anything that proves it farther than 6 yet, I don't think. That Eagle Orb, to me, would indicate that he's gotten pretty far into Florida. If I was Andy, I would expect either this was a very long and obnoxious dead end, or the boss is nearby. Flanders trying to get around the robot, but that's a pretty nasty spawn to deal with. That particular sentry robot position, there's very little chance of you getting around. Unfortunately. Baddest Beam is not a bad find for Flanders. Especially when all Jeff... Well, Jeff has a double beam, so it's not as nice as I thought, because I thought Jeff was still using the pop gun for him. But it is still a decent find. Jeff, when he's above, I would say roughly 150 offense, he's pretty useful for the majority of the game. So that's very nice to see a seed where you either find good weapons for Jeff, or Jeff has enough offense to make bad weapons work. And Andy has found the floor 8 boss. So let's see who it is. Andy's diving right in, he's not even going to check his equipment. And it's dog. It's a dog seed. Of course it is. So, Andy, in terms of equipment, could kind of struggle his way through Carbon Dog. He has a Sea Pendant on Paula, so she'll be pretty resistant, and he had another Night Pendant I believe he left on Ness. So the Glorious Light from Diamond Dog won't just instantly make him lose the fight. Because that is definitely a thing that can happen. But this is going to be very tough from the perspective of I don't think Andy has a very efficient way to do damage to Diamond Dog. So we'll have to see how he decides to deal with this. And you have a couple options. Some are much more reliant on luck, and some are just going to take a very long time. But first he has to get there. He has to get out of this fight with Carbon Dog, and if Carbon Dog uses a spray of fire attack, Andy will be in a lot of trouble. But he got through that phase. So that's a good sign. So let's see how Andy's going to approach this. He's going to keep bashing and bashing, and use Brain Shock. Don't combine bashes with Brain Shock. You'll undo your Brain Shock, just so you know. Andy will probably stop bashing anyway because he just did 1 damage with his bashes. I don't know, he's going to keep going. But yeah, so Brain Shock is definitely a good strategy used on Diamond Dog for no other reason than trying to minimize the amount of damage he's going to do to your party. Glorious Light will definitely kill 2 of your kids here. His Bite Down hard attack can kill any of your kids outright with Diamond Eyes. Andy has no way to cure that. Even if it doesn't, it's going to do a ton of damage, and you have life ups to deal with that, but your life ups are also going to be your psychic points are your pool for doing damage. So, definitely Brain Shock. And then I would probably start spamming freeze betas over and over and over and over and over to try to do enough damage to take him down. And then when you run out of psychic points, you can use Magnet. If you're going to Magnet, use Magnet Omega. The animation is slightly shorter. Just so you know. Flanders on the other side. Sorry, I was kind of neglecting him a little bit there. He took a very long dead end. It was kind of unfortunate. He went through the giant room of Starman Base, and at the end of it was Frank. However, if you do fight Frank and Frankenstein and then leave and come back, Frank will give you a heal as if you slept the night at an inn as long as Ness is alive. So if you're running low on hit points or psychic points, but you're otherwise fine, it's a decent, slightly slow, but decent strategy to get your stuff back. So, the other thing that I haven't mentioned yet with this Diamond Dog fight, if you Brain Shock Diamond Dog, he can feel strange, he can bite down hard on himself and diamondize himself, and then the fight's over and you win, because all your enemies are dead or diamondized. It's not terribly likely for that to all line up, but it can happen. Flanders here, I think, has to be on floor 7. Ooh, and Flanders did find a Sea Pendant, so he'll be significantly more prepared than Andy. Floor 6 boss is the Guardian Jet. This is not a hard fight, especially at this point, and especially with all the items that Flanders has found, he should have no issue with this at all. He would very much surprise me if any of his kids actually died. Yes, he can diamondize himself, even though he's already diamond. Correct. So now you'll see one of the advantages of not taking gigantic skips here. Andy doesn't quite have the resources to handle Diamond Dog very well. So Andy can keep making attempts on Diamond Dog until basically RNG lines up and lets him through the fight. Or he can backtrack and try to find better items. Meanwhile, Flanders did not skip quite as far and has found some better items, and he took the time to search the shops, found Super Bombs and BBR. So, especially if Flanders finds the other seed pendant, he'll be very well prepared. Which I think was in this room up top, so we'll see if Flanders goes up there to check it out. Or was it the night pendant on the left side of this room, or was it both? So Andy has a knowledge advantage. Flanders has an equipment advantage. What is this? This is the Earthbound Super Series Ancient Cave Tournament. Ancient Cave is a randomizer for Earthbound. It splits up the game, kind of randomizes the doors, and segregates them all into different floors. And the floors have escalating difficulty of enemies, and the entire randomizer culminates in still fighting Gygax. Yes, and there are custom sprites that you can get for this as well. Chaz has gone on the record as saying any good quality sprite he's happy to add to the randomizer. So Andy right now is searching the desert. There are a lot of presents throughout the desert, however there are a lot of enemy spawn tiles as well. So there's a lot usually to be found in the desert, but you're going to have to fight for it. And on the higher level floors, that can really become a slog. So it's kind of up to you, based on how much equipment you already have and how much you really need another pendant or a rabbit's foot or whatever you might be searching for. You're going to have to weigh that against the difficulty in getting these presents. Hey, aw, Andy, don't throw away the snake bag. Those poor snakes. Alright, so Flanders is doing a little bit of inventory cleanup here. He's decided that he's definitely not going to skip again now that he's on floor 8. He's throwing away all of his skip items and moving some equipment around. Once you're pretty sure that you're not going to use any more skips, it's not a bad idea to toss that stuff. Especially if you're hurting for inventory space. Andy's actually running pretty low on resources here again. As far as psychic points go, it's starting to hurt him. And that enemy had a Crusher Beam drop. That's a heck of a drop. Happens sometimes. So that's one thing to note. The contents of presents obviously have been randomized, unless you're just tuning in to notice that now. Enemy drops have also been randomized. They still seem to have the same chance of dropping items, but what they drop is different. And it's usually pretty similar to what they normally drop, but it seems like higher level enemies are more likely to have better items. And this fight giving Flanders a little bit of trouble with both Paula and Pooh now dead. A little bit unfortunate. I think overall the layout of this floor is really a struggle. It's unfortunate. If you were fighting a crow, it would probably not drop a powerful baseball bat, but instead of dropping a cookie, it might drop a protein drink or a calorie stick or a packet of sugar or an insignificant item. The best that I personally have ever seen, I fought a regular Starman and he dropped a Gutsy bat. Flanders with the very lucky runaway first turn there. I didn't think that was a green swirl, but maybe I missed it. And here we are, both runners in exactly the same room. And this is a very good room to find. The phone will let you save. The revitalizer will restore everybody to full. Especially if you skip forward. If you find that room, you have hit jackpot. So I'm not sure if there's anything else for Andy to find on this floor. So I think Andy's either going to have to find somebody that sells him something worthwhile, like this vendor right here would really bail him out of his issue with Dog, who we're about to see Flanders make an attempt against. You really need those super bombs so you can just do a ton of damage and get the fight over with. We'll see how Flanders responds to Carbon Dog here. Like I said, he's much better prepared in my opinion. He just has to go about it in the right way. Carbon Dog / Diamond Dog is a very difficult fight. Even if you come in here as well prepared as possible, it can still really give you issues. It's still, if you get very unlucky in an Earthbound Glitchless run and you're 100% prepared for this fight, it can still go sour. Spray of Fire is probably the worst thing you want to see from Carbon Dog, unless you're just completely loaded up on C, Star, and Fire pendants. Because the animation takes forever, and it does a ton of damage to anybody that doesn't have flame resistance. And it still does about 20 damage to anyone that has complete flame resistance. So that's pretty rough. Alright, so here, on this part of the Diamond Dog fight, there's an interesting little mechanic that you just saw there. Anytime that you transition between boss phases in Earthbound, your hit points will stop scrolling momentarily. So Pooh just stopped at 3 hit points there for a little bit. And then once he took his action, his hit points started rolling again. It's kind of a quirk of the Earthbound battle system. So if you see that, don't think that your kids actually survived with 3 hit points. No, please no. If you have the opportunity, heal them for sure. So Flanders, I think, is just going to try to, for lack of a better term, mob this dog and just try to do as much damage as possible before it kills him. And it looks like he's going to use all of his BBRs, which is what I would do. There's nothing wrong with this strategy. Andy with more items, I think, should fare just fine against Carbon Dog his second time through. However, unfortunately, it is his second time through. Yeah, so now Flanders has gotten himself into trouble because he's out. He's out of items. He's out of items to throw at the dog. Jeff is now paralyzed, so he can't even bash. Oh! But he did just enough damage to get out of it. Close is close enough, I suppose. I'll switch over to his audio, since he is now leading. Alright, we'll see how Andy fares on this second try. Especially now that he knows it's Carbon Dog, I think Andy will do just fine. But, like I just mentioned, he could also get unlucky and everything will go, don't throw away the Viper. Things could get unlucky and just go sour. So that's an Earth Pendant on Flanders' side. He already has 2 Sea Pendants, but an Earth Pendant certainly isn't going to hurt. If you're not aware, Earth Pendants will provide about 50% resistance to fire and freeze damage, and it makes you 90% resistant to flash. So it's not a guarantee, but it's a heck of a lot better than nothing. Usually I'm pretty content to show up at Gygus with 2 Earth Pendants, unless my stats are really bad. There's definitely can be an advantage to using a pendant on Pooh. He still benefits from Andy waiting here to have Pooh's hit points roll up, it looks like. Pooh will still benefit from the elemental and status effect resistances from pendants. He just loses 40 defense. No, but Pooh can definitely still use pendants, and I strongly recommend that you let Pooh use pendants. It'll lower his defense, it doesn't matter. Pooh's defense is never going to be high enough to matter. And Flanders, with this hospital, he had enough cash on hand to revive all of his dead kids and get rid of the paralysis on Jeff. So now he's not quite fully healed, but he's in a much better spot to actually try to explore floor 9. And this is a nasty room to find on floor 9, for the record. That tends to be very, very full of spawns. Andy having a little bit of trouble with Dog, it looks like, but he's not out of items yet, and he looks like he's going to start throwing super bombs. I think he was wanting to save some of those, probably, for Gygus, but you definitely want to continue making progress over planning for the future, if that's what you have to decide. And there you have it, Andy is also now past Diamond Dog. So both runners here are just a couple minutes apart. I would say Flanders is still a little bit better prepared for Gygus. I feel like Andy has more experience with the Gygus fight in general. So he would, if they got there at the same time, I think he would be able to leverage the items that he has a little bit better than Flanders, but we'll see. That's a huge find by Flanders. The heavy bazooka is essentially a super bomb that Jeff can use over and over. So that is a huge find for Jeff. Bag of Dragonite, my favorite item, does 800 fire damage approximately before you take into account enemy fire resistance. Unfortunately, just about everything in Earthbound resists fire at least a little bit. So you're probably not doing more than 400, probably more like 200. Or 40 if it really just doesn't care about it. What's going on in Rainy Circle? Oh, those sprites are randomized. That's what's going on there. Andy looks like he's backtracking, probably to save up and heal. And that's not a bad plan, especially since you don't know what you'll find on floor 9. And since none of Andy's kids are actually dead, you won't be able to utilize the hospital to get them back to full health and psychic points. Yeah, and you'll see, well, Flanders is going backwards. I suspect he's looking to buy more items, so he's better prepared for Gygus. Unless he just got himself that lost, which, yeah, he found the Flurry boss and he turned around. Alright, never mind, I guess he did just get that lost. That's unfortunate. I don't remember if he actually talked to the vendor in Dusty Dunes Desert to see that he had super bombs and big bottle rockets. Andy found the Earth Pendant. That matters a little bit more for Andy, since he only has the one Sea Pendant, and he put it on Pooh. I think that's a good choice. So as long as Andy also has these pendants, I think they're both about equally prepared for Gygus. So it was really probably going to come down to who can find Gygus first, and with their characters intact enough to actually attempt. Earth Pendants offer 50% resistance to fire and freeze and 90% resistance to flash. So they're very good items, especially in vanilla Earthbound. In the Ancient Cave, there can be up to 3 of each pendant in a seed. So you might find 3 seed pendants, or 3 star pendants. And he also found the present room, which means he should, unless he for some reason bails out, find the heavy bazooka as well. So Andy's gonna be good on items. He can use super bombs all day. Ooh, and this looks like a Ghost of Starman on Flanders' side, I think. which is usually a sign that you're very deep in floor 9. Yeah, this is a very interesting race. Both runners are very close, and right now they've got very good time, so unless there's something awful about the Gygas fight that we don't know yet, both runners should finish with pretty good times and pretty close to each other. The Belch Factory room is kind of a nasty room to find on floor 9. A lot of spawn tiles and a lot of nasty enemies here as well. No problem. Flanders talking to the monkey, probably mostly out of habit. I don't think he wants to go backwards at this point. I think he has enough resources to fight Gygas if he finds him. Andy taking advantage of the green swirls. They're very easy to get on Starmen. I think most everyone that's played Earthbound and is aware as the concept of the Sword of Kings has practiced fighting enough Starmen to figure out that, yes, you can very easily green swirl them if you just wait for them to teleport and then run into them. Yes, there's a Flowey sprite. There is a flower in vanilla in Magic Hand, and that sprite can randomly show up elsewhere. Flanders immediately turning around, and that's a good sign of an experienced Ancient Cave Runner. That room in the Starman room is a dead end. On the other end of that is the Metal Eraser. So unless you have the Metal Eraser and you're trying to take a skip, don't bother going down in that room. You should get used to recognizing that hallway so you don't have to fight them. Flanders just found a star pendant as well, so he's definitely set on pendants. What, 2 C pendants and a star pendant? He doesn't need any more pendants. Anything else is... I guess you could use one more pendant and throw it on Jeff if you really wanted, and anything after that's a waste. So both runners at the same time here walking into Orange Kid's room. They're very, very, very close. If you have Unity frames, or you're very good at stutter stepping, which is a technique we use in the speed run, you can get around those scripted. Normally they're little barfs, but the sprites are randomized. You can get around those enemies, or you can just fight them at this point. You've got plenty of experience. You can probably one-shot them, if not two-shot them, just by bashing. So equipping the Star Pendant is not a bad choice. In addition to having almost complete immunity to freeze and fire and complete immunity to flash, the Star Pendant also offers complete immunity to paralysis, and that includes diamondization. So you will not... The only way that character will come down with a status effect at this point, I guess you could get hypnotized, but the bite down heart attack ignores paralysis. So that's the only way that you'll get diamondized. Flanders walking down this room here. This is actually a very long and difficult walk, and Andy's starting it too. And the enemies... well, there's moves. So this makes me think it's probably not... Gygas is probably not at least 1 or 2 rooms away, but maybe. Bottles of water do 8 to 10 psychic points on Poo. Deluxe bottles of water do about 40. So regular bottles of water are not bad if you're early in the run, and I do recommend stocking up on them if you find them because they're very cheap. But if you're a couple floors in, I wouldn't bother them. It's their DX water. Andy with an almost clean walk. It's luck, unfortunately. The spawn tiles are also randomized, so the advantage that some like glitchless speedrunners might have in regards to trying to avoid enemy spawns, it's not a thing in the Ancient Cave. Ooh, that's the Cloak of Kings. You could give that to Poo. It'll give him 40 speed. I would definitely give it to him now while you're just trying to run away from enemies, because running is based on speed. But I would switch back over to the pendant before I actually fought Gygas. Because speed isn't going to help me a whole lot in the Gygas. At least not on Poo. You can try some interesting strats with if you already know that Pooh is very fast, and then you give him a Cloak of Kings. But that's pretty risky. I don't know. I would usually go for that. Looks like both runners they found the Gygus room at the same time. So this is neck and neck right here. Andy's looked like he's gonna go look around just a little bit. I imagine he's just digging for probably a full heal before he tries to dive into fighting Gygus. Not playing it slightly riskier and just diving in might cost him, though. Yes, both racers have the same seed. That's correct. Unfortunately, neither racer knows that they both know where Gygus is. Otherwise, I'm sure Andy would probably just dive right into this fight. But finding Gygus at 1 hour in is a pretty... it's a very competitive time. So I can definitely understand why you would go ahead and try to find something else before you dive into the fight. So we'll see how this works out. Andy's marking the room with an exit mouse, presumably in case he dies. He can come back here very quickly. Definitely, if you still have the exit mouse, that is definitely something that I would do. 100%. Makes your later attempts much easier. He dropped the exit mouse. He marked with the exit mouse. I don't think he dropped it. I missed that. He did. If you use the exit mouse to come back here, yeah, it's kind of a quirk with how things are programmed. You do actually have to exit the room and come back. So both runners are now sitting right in front of Gygus, and Andy's now doing his inventorying right before Gygus, and making sure that he's got everything all set up, and boy is it nerve-wracking to watch with the other guy starting Gygus. But you want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row before you start. It would be very dumb to realize, oh, I just put a pendant on Paula, and then lose it because you didn't spend 2 seconds to double-check. So Andy's going to be just a couple seconds behind here. We'll see how they handle this fight. Paralysis did not work on Flanders' side, so he's going to have to worry about who Pokey charges forward against here. However, he did have an Alpha, so no kid is currently dying from a ton of damage from Gygus. So he's got that working for him at least. And it looks like... Oh, Flanders is going to heal up food. We'll see... Alright, Pokey charges forward on Ness. That's not the worst choice. You might get a heal off on Ness in time if you're very fast. I don't think this is fast enough, unfortunately. You gotta be rock solid. Although the life up from Pooh as well might save you. Oh, you got it! The super bombs made it fast enough. Andy's got a beta, which is very unfortunate. He would have to deal with that. However, he got lucky with the damage rolls, and nobody took lethal damage there. So that's very important on Andy's side. Andy also did not have the paralysis work, so he's in the same boat as Flanders. We'll have to see who Pokey charges forward against. Hopefully it's a kid that can survive it. And Pokey, already down on Flanders' side, the bomb's doing plenty of damage. That's definitely what you want to see. Jeff taking the lethal damage here, that is probably who I would prefer to see take the lethal damage. That's not that bad. Andy's still going to go for the paralysis, and you don't know how many hit points this Pokey's going to have. It seems like he has slightly fewer hit points, so you'd get out of this a little bit faster than you'd realize, but you don't know that ahead of time. And there's the paralysis, so Andy should be safe from Gygus for Phase 1. He just needs to finish fighting Pokey. Flanders using a Brain Shock on Gygus. Gygus is 99% susceptible to Brain Shock. So you definitely want to take advantage of that if you can. As long as you don't bash Gygus, he will stay confused. And there we are. Andy's moving on to Phase 2. Flanders still has super bombs. You can toss those while Gygus is confused as well. That's very huge. The danger of using those PSI Rockins that Flanders is currently using is that is based on speed, and this phase of Gygus tends to be extremely fast. So it's very likely that you'll miss. Andy actually fumbling a little bit here while he decides how exactly he wants to deal with Gygas. He doesn't have any more super bombs, I don't think, so this is going to go a lot slower for Andy. I don't think he'll be able to catch up Flanders at this point. Sorry, Bag of Dragon. He still did 368. It's not bad. But yeah. So as it turns out, it may be worthwhile here to actually turn around and raise Jeff just so he can use the heavy bazooka. Neither runner does have a Franklin badge, that is correct. So, this fight is definitely still not over, based on who Gygas chooses, if he uses lightning, and if he uses lightning, who it hits. And Andy's now moving on to Phase 3. And this, right here, is exactly the concern that you have. So, Paula took these lightnings, she went immediately after Gygas, she's going to take lethal damage, and she's going to die. You have to be able to handle this from here. You either have to have items that will resurrect her, or Healing Gamma, which Pooh did learn. So, this attempt against Gygas is not over for Flanders. But it is going to slow him down significantly. Also of note, unfortunately, is that Healing Gamma has a 25% chance of not working. And that's what we just saw right there. So now he gets to sit here another turn and try again. And here's more lightning. It's really the only thing that's dangerous, sadly. I think he must have thought that Jeff had a healing item, but he does not. Alright, so Andy also using the Brain Shock here on Phase 3, definitely a good choice. You want to hang up. Half the time he'll be confused, and then half the time he'll actually swing hit himself instead of your party. So he'll tie up a quarter of his turns that way. Andy also taking the lightning on Paula, but it wasn't lethal. It was really close, but she's still alive with 6. So what's actually a concern now is pretty much any damaging move can kill Paula on Andy's side. But it looks like he's safe, so that life up on Paula will work. Oh my god, they're on the same prayer. Honestly, at this point, it's largely down to RNG. And of course, moving through your menus efficiently. You definitely don't want to waste time. And Flanders is doing a little bit more fumbling than he needs to. Again, I know you can't know how close it is when you're sitting there fighting Gygas, but man. A Solidify on Paula, that will hurt Andy at this point. I mean, you're both on the same prayer. And here it is. Andy moving on to the final phase of Gygas. 2 more prayers to go, and Flanders just a few seconds behind him. Andy just lightning fast. That's muscle memory from Glitchless right there. And Andy finishing with an official time of 1:07:39. And Flanders finishing right behind him with an official time of 1:07:53. Just 14 seconds apart. Unbelievable. What an outstanding race. I mean, that was... It was a very close race for a long time. Andy skipped slightly farther ahead, but struggled with Carbon Dog just a little bit more. They both explored floor 9 at pretty much the same speed. Both found Gygus at almost exactly the same time. Flanders just had a slightly unluckier Gygus fight. But he almost made up the difference anyway because Andy was playing it a little bit safer and spent a little more time in his inventory. It was... It's definitely a race. That was definitely an exciting race. Yeah, definitely congratulations to both runners. Those are both very respectable times, for sure. Andy with a humane and valid run. He freed a chicken in 3, no problem here. Yeah, of course. Taking a look here at the bracket now, with Andy's win, he'll move on to the next round of the losers bracket. To catch up,
Hello?
we'll have to...
Okay. Well, that was a thing that just happened.
It was a very close race between the two of you. I'm sorry that you lost, but you definitely still played very well. Oh, man. And it looks like we have no music on the segment. So I can go back to putting on something here at least. About a very close race. Andy will move on to the next bracket. On the other side of the losers bracket, we have a match between Nerm and Arafram. The winner of that match will fight Daniel RGT, and the winner of that will face AndyPerfect. I'm not sure. I don't know if the other guys have scheduled their race yet, so we'll have to take a look and see when the next race will be.
Hello.
Oh boy. Sorry, that's loud. Very close race. I'm sorry. Congratulations, Andy.
Thank you. That was insane. I just was going as fast as Gygas. I had no idea how close or
There we
whatever
go.
Flanders was, and then I saw the dot done pop up like 10 seconds later.
Oh my gosh. I was so upset when I saw. I was like, I'm glad it was that close, but I was like, really? Because of some stupid little Gygas thing? Really?
Flanders? Did you ever wipe to the dogs?
No, I did not wipe.
Interesting. So sounds like from what you were talking about, it sounds like we both got to floor 4, and you skipped to 7, and I skipped to 8, and I wiped to the dogs once.
Which is exactly what happened.
And I got lost on 8 for like 2 seconds. I couldn't remember which way was which. I almost got lost on 7, but I saw weaker enemies on 7 when I was going backwards, and so I turned right around and went back the other way.
But yeah, I didn't have a chance in that first Carbon Dog Diamond Dog fight. I died after I put out probably like 1,500 damage in Diamond Dog before I was just out of gas. And then I started exploring the desert. I found the arms dealer with super bombs and big bottle rockets.
Yeah, Flanders actually found in the Forsyth department store, you kind of skipped right into the first door. He explored the shops a little bit, and upstairs, one of the vendors there sold big bottle rockets and super bombs. So when he came up to the dog the first time, he was ready to roll right through.
Yeah, I would have. I just in my mind I was assuming I would hit the top shops if that second floor door didn't go anywhere, and if it didn't, I was just gonna keep exploring, and every floor I went up, I would hit the shops.
And it's reasonable. I'm not going to say which one is right. In this case, it made a huge difference, though.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was. But literally, we're talking 10 seconds, like 10, 15, something like that.
Yeah, it was.
Mine and Daniel's race where he beat me. It was like a minute 30 difference. I think this might be the closest race we've had in the tournament so far.
I would have to say so. It was nerve-wracking to have Flanders. He started the Gygas fight, I would say maybe 20 seconds ahead of you, Andy, and you're just taking your time like, oh, does everybody have their pendants? Ooh, I'll move these bombs around. I mean, you can't know where the other guy's at, but...
And I also I found the Gygas room, and I was like, it'd probably be nice if I check this left door over here just to see if there's a save room or something, or some quick little base I can find if I find something. But I explored down there on the backtrack. I probably spent a minute doing that too.
Yeah, I think it was a combo for me. I don't think I misplayed anything. I think I needed to spend a little time out. Not stop looking at my inventory. I think I just kind of looked at it too much through this, but like the only other thing I could have really done was not have better RNG on the dogs and Gygas, because I had some really whacked out stuff happen in those boss battles. I pulled through, but like they were weird.
You did have some rough points in the Gygas fight. Paula did die at one point, but at least Pooh did learn Healing Gamma, so you were able to bail out of that. If you go back and watch, you can see pretty much exactly the point where Andy's like glitchless speedrunning experience kicks in, and he just flies through the menus in the fight.
Yeah, I don't have that. So, and I think I was talking to Andy the other day about potentially starting that process up with doing some glitchless stuff, but I knew it would come.
We're always happy to have new runners.
Maybe. But this was good. Yeah, the only other thing I could think of is I got some weird RNG on the dogfight. I forgot what happened, but I think it was Jeff got confused, and then he shot Paula, and then it was like, the dogs had way too much HP. They had more than usual.
Flanders, what pendants did you have during the Gygas fight? Did everyone have flash resistance?
I had 3 C pendants and an Earth pendant.
Oh wow! So you took way different routes. I had a star pendant, a C pendant, 2 Earth pendants, and a night pendant.
Yeah, there was a C pendant on floor 7, a C pendant on floor 8. So Flanders found the C pendant on 7. You both found the one on 8. There were actually, I think, 2 star pendants, Chaz told me, on floor 9, but I think both of you only found one?
I found a star pendant. I'm pretty sure Paula had the star, Ness and Pooh had the C, and Jeff had the Earth on my character, so I think that's how...
Yeah, I forget where I found the star, but yeah, I had a star pendant on Paula, and Ness had a C pendant.
There was also a Franklin badge on, I think, like floor 5 or something, which we never saw, so...
Yeah, there were a few chests when I was like in floor like 2 or 3. I was just flying through, and I was like, this chest would take like 10 seconds to check, but I'm not doing it.
I checked a lot of early chests because I was thinking about that Franklin badge.
Yeah, every single time I was like, I really hope I'm not skipping a Franklin badge because that's gonna come back to hurt me if I don't take this 10 seconds.
And then look what happens to me. I get double thundered round 3 or whatever in the face. Oh, God.
Did both thunders connect on Paula?
Yeah, so the first thunder hit her just at 1 HP below her max. And I'm like, oh, thank God. And then the next one hits her. I'm like, are you friggin' kidding me? This is ridiculous.
That stinks.
It is what it is. It's RNG. It's all RNG. It's all good. Congrats.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to plan for too. If you don't have a Franklin badge, you can try to queue up life ups each turn, but if Paula's too fast, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, the only time that really works to queue up a life up is if someone is faster than Paula and slower than Gygus.
Yeah, it was in their turn order started to shift at one point because there would be occasions where Ness went before Paula before she prayed, and I was like, why couldn't you do that when I had 2 life ups queued on you? But hey.
Well, good race, Flanders. I'm excited to go back and watch the VOD. I'm excited to go, especially just to see how close our Gyguses were.
Yeah, me too. It'll be interesting to see how our paths kind of diverge. You must have gotten the skip that I think it was like, if you're saying you skipped the floor 8, was it the 4-side skip, the top?
Yeah, it was the Tapala Theater. I came in through the left door, and I just moved the girl out of the way and skipped through.
Yeah, because I wondered when I saw that, I was like, I wonder which floor that was connected to, and then I just left because I saw it on 8. I walked in that room.
Oh, so you didn't see it on 4, you saw it when you were exploring 8?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, if you saw it on 8, there's no reason to even check it.
Oh, well, now I get to sit back, relax, and figure out who's going to end up facing Ori in the finals. So I guess I just get to be part of the audience now. But that was great. I almost wish I was in the audience for this one. Man, that was.
Thanks again for commentating, Ari.
Yeah,
thanks, Ari. Appreciate it.
No, I enjoyed it. Yeah, that was an excellent race to watch, I have to say.
What do we have in store coming up? Do we know schedules of other racers yet?
Races right now.
Yeah, I don't think so. We still need to have Nerm and Airfram do their match. They will play.
We're just waiting on that line. Nerm and Airfram, then the winner of that facing Daniel, and the winner of that facing me.
Then the winner of that facing Quattro, and the winner of that facing me. And then maybe the winner of that facing me again.
It'd be cool to do a Sunday night race with a bunch of people, though, like just for fun.
Yeah, we'll try and figure something out.
But anyway, I'm gonna hop off. Dinner is ready here. It's all the perfect timing in the world. But thank you guys for having me in the tournament. I have to give a special shout out to Andy as well, because if I didn't watch Andy play the one day, the randomizer, I wouldn't have started getting into it. So it's kind of cool to lose to you. If I'm going to lose to anybody, I'm glad it's Andy. Seriously, if I'm going to lose to anybody, I'm glad I lost to you.
Oh, well, thank you.
I would have been pissed if it were Ari. I'm just saying.
Wow. Hey.
Look, that would have been prophetic if I lost to Ari. But like, yeah, okay, everyone's going to lose to Ari, probably. I kid.
107's a pretty competitive time. I'm not going to sit here and say that I would have played this seed faster than either of you.
All right, well, take care, guys. Have a good night. I'll have to watch this VOD.
All right, we'll see you guys.
All right, well, thank you for watching. If you're interested, be sure to follow the Earthbound Super Series channel, where you'll see more of these tournament brackets as we progress through to the finals at the end. And that's all I've got. Thanks for watching, everybody.